Wait for the mic. Oh, I see.
Are you involved in any projects right now?
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing a film up in Toronto. All these people from Toronto? Yeah! And I think it's going to be a very good movie. It's called The Cutting Edge. It's about skating, both ice hockey and figure skating. And it's about this young couple and their coach, their Russian coach, played by a guy called Dotrice. And I think it's going to be a good movie. It's very exciting. We encapsulate at the end of the film next year's Olympics at Albertville. And when our couple win the figure skating championship, the gold medal. It's interesting because the people that are doubling them, because obviously although our kids are doing quite a lot of skating, the really complicated stuff has to be done by expert skaters. And we got this young girl called Laurie and this fellow called Tony. Tony had split up with his partner, and Laurie had indeed split up with hers. And so they've come together and they've been put together for this film to skate together, and they've kind of hit it off. Not only are they getting married, but they're going to remain a pair, and they're going on to try and win the actual gold medal in the Olympics next year. So it'd be a wonderful story if it all pans out. But the film is called The Cutting Edge. It's being made by MGM, and it should be released. They're hoping to get it out for Christmas, but if not, it'll be out in January, but hopefully for Christmas. Yes?
I saw you in Down Home recently. I want to know how long it took to get the makeup on.
She saw me in Down Home recently.
I loved the character. I loved it when you...
Yeah, I was a bit sad about that because I was playing a character which was absolute typecasting. I was playing a 100-year-old Texan who was the most hated man in town. And it was a delightful part, and the producer said at NBC that if the series was to be picked up, which we're going to hear about in June, then I would become a regular character on it. Well, alas, it was not. No, don't applaud, it wasn't picked up, unfortunately. So we'll all cry together tonight. But it was fun doing it, and it made me realize, what dear old Ron had gone through, because they started my makeup at 7:15 in the morning, and they finished it at 4:20 in the afternoon.
Oh my God.
It was monstrous, and I suffered from it for several weeks afterwards. I mean, they ripped my skin to pieces, because it was a piece of casting that happened at the last moment, and really, we didn't have time to have proper wig fittings and things, so what they did, they took my own hair, what's left of it, and they stuck it down with spirit gum all over.
Oh.
And then after that they put mortician's wax all over. It's a kind of wax which morticians... Oh dear, no, I'm not going to go into that. But morticians use it anyway. And they put this wax all over my head, and then they put various coats of sealer and things. I mean, I was getting this stuff out of my hair for about 3 weeks after. But I think it sort of worked quite well. It wasn't a bad makeup. The makeup man was the same man who made up Jack Lemmon in a thing called Dad. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, any more questions? Yes, darling. There's the microphone.
In the movie,
Terrible statement. Oh, I nearly got a split personality. Yes, my love.
In the movie Amadeus, you had quite high top billing, but you weren't in very many scenes. Were you kind of disappointed about that?
Yes, I was in many ways. I mean, the whole thrust of the film was the Salieri and the Mozart confrontation. And unfortunately, the father was almost a superfluous character. I mean, I seemed to play an awful lot of them, because I thought father in The Beauty and the Beast was a bit like this, a bit like a Jewish mother, very possessive of the son. And I came along and complained about the way they were living, and then left and promptly died. It wasn't exploited, because, I mean, the character of Leopold Mozart was indeed, he was a wonderful character and a great musician. A piece of music has been discovered recently, and they know it's by Mozart, but they don't know whether it was by Wolfgang or was by the father, Leopold. And he wrote a book called Violin School, which is still recognized as the definitive book on learning how to play the violin. So yes, I was disappointed, but as Milos said to me, there were several scenes that were in the original script which we could have filmed, but he said they're going to be cut anyway, because the main thrust of the film has to be this confrontation between Salieri and Wolfgang. Yes? This gentleman, yeah.
What was it like working with the late David Rappaport on Luther?
What was it like working with the late David Rappaport? It was lovely. I mean, David was such a nice chap, delightful man, and a great sadness that he decided to end it all. And none of us seemed to know why. Seemed to be people that were close to him and knew him towards the end, thought he was quite happy and that didn't have any problems. I think there's always a danger, and God knows we're all feeling this at the moment, that if you do a television series and it's, and suddenly everybody is fating and courting you, and then it all comes to a dreadful end. Unless you're lucky enough to immediately go into other work, you can get very depressed. And nothing much happened to David after he did the series The Wizard. And so I think he must have got inwardly depressed. There was no sign of it on the outside, but I think he was deep down very depressed. And it was sad because I think he was a man of immense talent. And in fact, we were going to do a play together. It was a wonderful play called Journeys. It has also been named Inner Journeys. It was written by James Handley Chase, who was a Welsh poet. And it was very interesting because it was about this 70-year-old vaudevillian that I was going to play. And he is a comedian. He does a double act with his wife. But he is an extremely lecherous person who has numerous affairs with all the chorus girls and embarrasses his wife to such an extent that she takes the bottle and becomes a chronic alcoholic and cannot continue with the act. So in desperation, they have this dwarf son. And they turn to the son, and the father decides to change the act and to use him as a ventriloquist dummy and to pretend he's a dummy. So they make him up as a dummy and sits him on his knee, and the boy suddenly gives vent to all the spleen and all the anger and all the hatred that he has for the father. It was quite a terrifying play, actually. It never happened because of David's demise, but we'll do it again one day in another place. Yes, any more questions? Yes, darling. Microphone for the lady.
Hi, I'm Miranda, and I'm with Ivory Rose from Houston. And I want to thank you for bringing back the poetry and things back into all of our lives. I've never enjoyed it as much until I've heard you read it and all the things that's happened on B&B. I would like to ask you about the foundation, and maybe you could tell us more about the foundation that you're doing on saving the animals and where you are financially with that.
Yeah, what foundation is this, darling? The Sea Shepherd.
Yes.